Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to She Laughs with Kristal and Tanisha. Be sure to check back every week.
Also, please send your questions into She Laughs at charmainesconfessions.com. That's She Laughs at CharmainesConfessionscom. Now let's go ahead and get to the show. Hello everyone. Welcome to another edition of She Laughs. I am Tanisha.
And I am Kristal. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, you guys. We hope you've had a blessed week so far. And we're going to just delve right on into the topic of tonight. Or today. Whatever time of day it is that you're listening. The topic we have today is basically being a true follower of Jesus. All the way to the point of surrender, basically. And I know it sounds extra deep, but this is going to be a fairly deep topic, mainly because that is a battle that we struggle with daily. Your will versus his. Which one is better in every aspect of life, even down to relationships, marriage, businesses, jobs, even little things, budgets, your finances. So it sounds very broad, but it's not. It's fairly simple, but it's not either. The concept that we will talk about today was mentioned in a book titled Not a Fan, Becoming a Completely Committed Follower of Jesus, and it's by Kyle Idleman. We definitely suggest you get this book. I would suggest for those e-readers like myself, I like my Kindle, I would suggest get the hard copy. The reason why is because it's easier to go back to certain text, certain sentences, certain paragraphs. You can highlight them. I know you can highlight them in most of the e-readers, but it's different when you're holding the book in your hand and you're reading it. This is a very, I don't even know how to call it. It's a lot to digest. It is what the Bible would consider meat. The context of this book is not breast milk. It is meat. It is very, again, hard to digest. I'm going to repeat that a lot just to really emphasize to you that it's a lot. The context of the book basically describes followers of Jesus basically being slaves to Jesus. Apologize, Kristal, she's a hard-working woman. Phone's going off in the background. But, yes, he describes followers of Jesus becoming slaves to Jesus. Now, as an African-American woman, I'm not trying to be nobody's slave. Just, no thanks. But, we are. The minute we dedicate our lives to him and ask him to be the Lord of our life, we are signing ownership over. We are signing our lives over. We always say we're giving, I gave my life to Christ, because it sounds good. The tone and the beat to that sounds cute. You can go and tell everybody you gave your life to Christ, and everyone gives you a hug and high five and says congratulations, and you think that's it. It's way deeper than that. Giving your life to Christ literally means dying to yourself daily. It's not about what you want. It's not about what you think. It's not about what you thought. It's not about how you feel. It's about what he wants you to do. And Learning that is a daily thing. Getting that is a daily thing. We will never be perfect when it comes to that. That perfection comes after life. I know a lot of Christians like to say that they're saved and sanctified, but sanctification does not come till after death, people. So please stop saying that. You're not sanctified yet. Saved, yes. Sanctified, not so much. You are on the road to sanctification, but you have not made it yet. So I definitely want to come from the aspect of no condemnation when it comes to learning every day to die to self so that you can move forward and do better. I've always wanted to attain the heart that David did, to the point where he knew his shortcomings. He knew when he did wrong, and he had no problem going before God and laying prostrate saying, yeah, I did all that and more. Let me tell you what I did. And he's honest with Christ, and that's what makes him have a heart after God. Because he knows who to go to for help. He knows who to go to for saving. He knows who to go to clean him up, to get his mind right so he can do what he's supposed to do. And he did that all the time. So definitely want to put a lot of emphasis on no condemnation when it comes to that. And I will let Kristal give her spiel on the topic.
Cool. Hey, good peoples. So yes, we are definitely talking about just dying to yourself, denying yourself, and being a true committed follower of Christ. I'm not gonna lie, when I first picked up Kyle Idleman's book, Not a Fan, after the first chapter, I was ready to put it down. Because it is a lot. And I had to force myself to really get through it and read it. And the reason being is because, like Tanisha said, a lot of us will be quick and we think, oh, I've given my life to Christ, da 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 da. And instantly everyone crowds around us and they're welcoming us with open arms. And it's like a whole, I'm a sorority girl, so it's like joining a sorority. You know, you got new friends, everybody understands what you're doing and stuff like that. And yeah, you get your new Bible with the little emblem that's, you know, imprinted on the front and the gold print, you know, and you're like, yes, I'm part of the Christian club. But if I'm honest, a lot of times we don't know what we're signing up for. Like, we know the Bible verses that we've memorized, or some of us, because I was in what was called Pathfinders and Adventurers Club, and we memorized verses when we were little, and we had the Bible quizzes, and went to VBS every single year. Hallelujah. And, you know, knew those frontwards and backwards. My grandfather was a pastor, and so knew the word, but didn't know the word. Okay. Knew certain verses, but didn't know the meaning behind those verses, because a lot of times we take verses and we take them out of context and we don't go back and see the full story as to why David sang. We didn't see the full story as to why, or who, like, for instance, I was always shocked to find out who Goliath's mom was. Read about it, because the Bible is interesting. I'm just saying, go find out who Goliath, that's your homework. Go find out who Goliath's mom was, and you'll be interested to see how the Bible is interconnected between different people and why certain things happened and had to happen to set up for a predestined end. But I digress on that. So why this book made me want to put it down and why I had to force myself to read it. As Tanisha said, I am a African American woman. The whole idea of being a slave to anyone, anything, any situation um, is abhorrent to me. However, it when you actually say, Lord, I am going to follow you, and Paul writes about it, it literally takes me dying daily. and learning. It's a muscle that I am continuously building to deny myself of my wants, my need, not my needs, because He provides everything I need, but my wants, my sinful nature, the things that I want to do every single day. Um, because it's not always easy. And if I'm honest, it does not always make sense why I can't do the things that I want to do, because to me they seem perfectly logical. Lord, it seems perfectly logical that I would want this position or this situation and stuff like that. It benefits me. But as he asked the man, if I told you to go sell everything you had and come and follow me, well, now we getting into some gray areas. Okay, well, you want me to sell everything I have? I'm wealthy, and come and follow you? I could do more good. Logical answer is I could do more good with my wealth and feed more people just under my roof alone than to sell everything and then just come and follow you. Like, that goes against the grain in my human logic. And if you really study your word, you find out that God is always doing very illogical things. He's always doing the one thing and test you in the one area that you are unwilling to move. I know for myself, my biggest test area for myself was a year ago. I was living in DC, had a well-paying job, had been promoted countless times within the company, and loved my position, loved my friends, everything. And I felt like God was telling me, okay, this is nice. It's nice. You're doing well, and you could stay here, and you could live well, but I want you to go back to Georgia. Lord, that don't make no sense. There's nothing for me in Georgia. I felt like I had moved on from life down here, life period down here, the people down here, relationships down here. I was like, Lord, I don't need to go back down there. Everything down there is dead. Long story short, there's nothing to bring me to Georgia. And he's like, yeah, I get what you're saying. You need to go back to Georgia. Okay. And so I literally felt myself wrestling for months, not weeks, not days, months, to really pick up and move myself down here. Mind you, yeah, I got the nice job in DC, but I'm living with my aunt. Not out on my own, but I was super comfortable. And he always he always does things to make you uncomfortable. And so I was like, all right, Lord, I'll move. So I turned in my notice, and I'm thinking he gonna make a way. He gonna give me a job before I get down there, and I be homeless and on somebody else's couch, and it's gonna go good. And it didn't work out like that. You can ask Tanisha. I literally packed up, moved down here, and turned in my notice, and I didn't have a job. I had a place, I had rent, I had new bills coming, um, and no job, no nothing. And he said, "Follow me anyway." When I say he will move things, Lord, but it took me actually having to say, "Your will and not mine," because I'll tell you the story after that. But the biggest point is the struggle of saying yes when everything completely does not make sense. And I'm going to turn it back over to T, and then I know she's got some more stuff to say, and I'll get to the outcome of that story in a moment. But guys, this road is not easy. It's not easy dying to yourself, because for me, I feel like I'm the most knowledgeable about what Kristal needs for Kristal. And then depending on somebody else, especially starting out new in your faith. Starting out new in your faith is a whole different story. I can see it's difficult enough for people who have been walking that walk for a long time. But starting out new in your faith and your walk and being told or feeling like God is leading you to do a major jump is not easy. And so we're not going to sugarcoat it for you and say that this walk, this Christian walk is easy. It's not. It is completely not.
No, it is not. And that is not a discouragement at all. though it is not easy, it is extremely beneficial. The benefits are plenty. They really are. Once you get past the uneasiness of getting past yourself, the benefits are amazing. I cannot I cannot make that any more clear. The benefits are good, but we definitely want you to realize it. It's going to be a struggle. And everybody's walk is different, and everybody's walk is a struggle. If you're being honest with yourself, those who don't have many problems or issues, and all you hear from them is them and Jesus is homeboys, and I get emails from him and he sends me text messages and we hold hands and we skip down the street. They're not being very honest with themselves. And if they're not being honest with themselves, you already know they aren't being honest with Christ in their relationship. There are moments where you just get tired. You don't want to do it anymore. And when you get past your, I would say, your first experience dealing with Christ and him plucking you out of a place and making you go to do something else when you don't want to, it's a little easier when the next situation comes, because there will be another and another and another and another. And then you'll be like, yeah, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I saw, I don't know if Kristal saw a few, maybe week before last, on Facebook, The Rock posted a video. He was in Canada, I think Ontario, Canada, and he was talking about how much he loved the city and how beautiful it was. And then he spoke on the first time he was there. He was there, if I'm not mistaken, I'm maybe getting my facts wrong, but I think he said he was there for football. He had tried out because all his life, all he wanted to do was play football. And that didn't pan out for him. That did not become a career for him. So the next venture he did was wrestling. And he ended up in Ontario again. Before he even went to do wrestling, I believe with him not achieving his football career, he went through hardships as far as finances, and kind of got down on himself because, again, this was his dream. This is what I've always wanted to do my whole life. But we don't know him as the Rock football player. We don't know him as Dwayne Johnson, who plays for such and such and such and such. We mainly know him as an actor. And here he is in that same spot again, in that same city, as an actor on a movie set. And he never saw this for his life, is basically what he was saying. I never dreamed this for myself. The dream that I originally had for myself, that died. I had to be willing to let it die to be open to this new dream. And I am amazed, and I am happy, and I am blessed. And he basically was encouraging everyone to not give up. That's basically what it is to following Christ. You have a dream and a goal for yourself, and there are times where God will say, I don't want you to do that. And you have to be willing to say, okay. Now, if he has given you a dream and you know he's given it to you, and usually the way you know he's given it to you, I don't know if many of you have got that part or that to that point in your life where you pray for him to remove it from you because you don't see yourself doing that, or I don't think this is attainable, or I can't, that doesn't fit my personality. I can't do that. This was going to be too hard. The circumstances that I'm in, I can't get to that. If he constantly is putting this dream on you or this vision on you, then you know for a fact that this is what he wants you to do. That is totally different from what you may have grown up wanting to do. Again, you have to be willing to die to self and say, okay, God, I will do what you're calling me to do. Another book I would suggest, and I can't even think of the author, but I'm going to look it up real quick. Hallelujah for Google. Really quickly. What is it? It is called Girl Interrupted. No, it's not Life Interrupted. I know that much. It is. Okay, no, it ain't Girl Interrupted. That's incorrect. I'm going to have it to you in just a second. It's something like that, but no, that ain't it. Now that I'm looking at it, I have to look it up. But it's similar to Not a Fan in the sense of learning how to die to self. And I know we're harping on that topic, but it really seriously is a daily struggle. Kristal shared her story. I have a similar story of God wanting you to do something you just flat out don't want to do. The difference in my story is I told him no. I was living in Athens, Georgia, working content. Wanted to venture into being a cosmetologist. I knew I couldn't do that because of the job that I had. It was a corporate job. So, that's a 9-to-5 thing. And plus I traveled for my job. So trying to go to cosmetology school just didn't seem like it was panning out. So through prayer and fasting and speaking to God, he allowed me to be able to go to school by allowing me to lose my job. So now I'm like, this is not, I didn't ask for that, but okay. So I was, again, content again. I was still had my own apartment. I was able to pay bills that needed to be paid and go to school to become a cosmetologist. Then God started sending me dreams telling me I needed to go home. Now back home was all of my family. I was in Athens basically by myself. And I was like, God, I don't understand why you want me to go home. I'm fine. I don't necessarily need anything. I'm going to school. I can just leave. You had me lose that job so I can go to school. Go home for what? And he just kept sending me the dream. And the issue that was going on at home was my mother was sick. And someone needed to care for her. And he was giving me that responsibility. Now, I didn't have the best relationship with my mother. So going home to deal with her and she's sick, no thank you. I have other relatives that are there that can help her. She's okay. They can do it. They can handle it. I'm good. So yes, I literally told God, no, you got me out of there. I'm on my own. I am regaining a relationship with you because I really kind of didn't have one while I was home. No, bruh, I'm not going back home. It's okay. I'm sure you didn't necessarily mean that. If she calls me and says, hey, this is going on, I need you. She ain't do that. We good. He kept sending me dream after dream, and I kept literally, no lie, telling him out loud, I'm not going back home. There are people there that can handle this. Well, money started disappearing from my account. So money's getting low. So I told God, no problem. I got you. I got a friend I can move in with. I ain't got to worry about paying no rent. That's exactly what I did. I left my apartment and moved in with a friend. Money continued to disappear to where, dang, I can't even get nothing to eat. I'm struggling to put gas in the car to get to school. I finally had to break down and say, okay, I'll go home. I had no money to get home. So I had to call my grandmother and tell her basically the whole thing and ask her, can you please help me get home? So she was the one who sent the U-Haul and packed all my stuff, went home. I was able to care for my mother until she passed. That's what he wanted me to do. Even that was a struggle in itself, to care for a ailing, technically dying parent as a child. That was a lot. So during that course, I am upset with God. You moved me down here from where I was fine and at peace to deal with this. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I'm still trying to go to cosmetology school to do what I know you want me to do, not just something I just decided. And I feel like I'm going through hell. Why would you do that to me? And I made the entire situation about me instead of realizing that this was a time for me to reconcile with my mother. This was a time for me to show grace, which I knew nothing about. No lie. I was the you do something wrong to me, you was on the list. And God bless you, please don't come around me. So I had to learn grace. It was a definite period where I had thought previously my relationship with God was already strong. This made it stronger. This situation made me stronger, so that when things would happen afterwards, it would almost roll off my back. I experienced this issue that most people never have to worry about handling. What you trying to throw at me is not going to work. You're going to have to try again. So a lot of times we don't want to do what it is he wants us to do because we simply are either scared, we just are being selfish about it, or we're afraid of our potential, because we have the potential to be great and to do great things. And a lot of times that scares us because we don't want all of the responsibility that come with that, if we get honest. A lot of times we like to say, oh, well, my meek little self, no me, I don't want the spotlight on me, don't look at me, let me cower in the corner in the shade. No, we don't want to be out in the light because the limelight requires responsibility. It requires you, yet again, dying to self, because it can't always be about you. So we don't want to do that. And we have to become honest with ourselves. And again, I know the first podcast I spoke about speaking out loud. I'm a big person about that because I'm extremely logical, and I can be in my head, and I can sit in my head for days, and that doesn't help me. I can't combat my head inside my head. I know it probably sounds like you should be able to. No. The Bible says there's power in the tongue, and it used that scripture for a purpose. So out loud, you have to say out loud whatever you need to be honest with yourself about. Speak it out loud. It makes a difference when you hear yourself say those things. Usually you are more quick to want to correct the problem, which is usually shake it off, get out your feelings, get away from self, and do what you need to do. So definitely being a follower of Christ is a daily death to self. So I am going to pass it over to Kristal. Did you want to read the thing? Or are you trying to read? She wants to read something out of not a fan. So
Before I read something from Out of Fan, I wanted to go back to my story because I told you I would finish that story a little bit later. But Tanisha touched on something about coming when he calls you out into the limelight. Also, oftentimes when we want to be meek and mild and in the corner, what I find, especially for myself, I can play that humble role. But the reality of the reason why I play that humble role is because I don't want nobody seeing my business. I don't want to have any changes to my life. I'm quite comfortable. It's quite convenient. It's cozy over here. I don't want to make no changes. So Lord, please don't come in, disrupt anything I got going on because I know how things operate over here. Even the bad stuff. I know how that operates. It's a certain system. I'm fine with it. I am comfortable to be right over here doing what I do because it's familiar. And oftentimes when we're talking about dying to ourselves, what we're really talking about is being outside of our comfort zone because he calls us outside of it in different ways and deny ourselves in different ways. Sometimes denying ourselves means stepping out on faith and venturing out on an entrepreneurial idea that he wants us to take on. Sometimes it's stepping out on faith and extending grace and trust to someone who does not deserve it or in your mind does not deserve it again. And he's saying, I want you to go back and give that person another chance. And that is not easy. Sometimes it's literally saying, you know what? I know you've really, really, been going to school for this and you've been going to school for that, but I don't want you to be a doctor. I want you to be a teacher. What? You changing my whole life trajectory right now, Lord. Like, that's not even what I had in mind. Or for some of my friends who I know who have gone to school for years and then all of a sudden just up and left and went to be missionaries in other countries. He's calling them out to do that. And they're like, Lord, I felt like he was calling. It's not easy giving up your comfort. Okay. Your comfort to do something that God calls you to do. And a lot of times I think people think and look up to other people and they're like, oh, they're so great. They just love God. They're just doing everything that he tells them to do. I could never do that. Trust me, they have had sleepless nights. They have wrestled with the ideas themselves because you're asking to give up someone's comfort zone. And that's not easy to do. Like I said, I was quite comfortable in DC. Quite comfortable with my family. I was getting to know my siblings, my father. For many of you who don't know, I grew up here in Georgia, but my siblings lived in Virginia. My father lived in Baltimore. So I did not grow up knowing them. So I was excited. I was in the big city. I was by myself. I was doing it big. It was like Carrie Bradshaw with Sex in the City. I was living it up. My body was getting right. I was at the gym. I was off the chain. And then he said, come back to Georgia. And for me, Georgia meant a lot of things. There was a lot of soul ties, a lot of relationships here, both friendships, romantic and family relationships that I did not want to address. There was a lot of hurt. There was a lot of memories here that when it boiled down to it, was the reason I ran to DC. And was in such a hurry to get out of Georgia. And I was like, Lord, you got me out of the chaos. I finally felt like I got some peace. And you're asking me to go back in the midst of chaos. I don't understand. And so finally, prayed about it, fasted about it. And I remember the night that I finally fell on my knees and was like, Lord, if you want me to go back to Georgia, I'll go, but you got to tell me. And guys, y'all know lie. I think I called Tanisha at like 4:00 in the morning sobbing because I was like, I'm turning in my 2 weeks notice at work today. I ended up giving them a little bit about a 30 days notice. I said, but I got to go back. He done already told me. He woke me up at like 2:00 in the morning. And I will never forget. I have been fasting for about a week, praying about what I should do. And on that night, I said, Lord, tonight is the night. I need a word from you. Like, you need to tell me something. And my alarm is set on my phone. Okay. My alarm always plays to music, or it is one of the little ringtones alarms, and it'll go blaring off, and it's set to my Bluetooth. It has never been connected to a podcast, a radio show, or anything like that. I have never had something like that wake me up. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, I hear Ebenezer Quay from One Church LA talking about some go, go, go. You got to go now. He's telling you to move. Stop. Why are you waiting? And he's yelling. And it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the basement. I literally jumped up out of my bed, fell off my bed, honestly. Almost bumped my head. Oh, my aunt came running down, wondering what was wrong with me. And I'm just crying because I was like, I know I'm going crazy. I'll explain it in the morning. Just go back to bed. It's 2 o'clock. But I knew then. And I had called Tanisha. I was crying. I was like, all right, I think I got the answer. And I went in that day to my boss. And before I told anyone else, and I sat down with her and I said, I have to tell you something. And she said, okay, what's going on? And I said, I'm moving back to Georgia. She said, okay, well, I know, you know, we talked about this. It'll probably be in a year or so because, you know, I was trying to plan it. Lord, I'll move back, but, you know, in like a year, you know, it'll take a year to move down there. And I was like, no, in 3 weeks. And she looked at me and she had the biggest smile on her face and it was peaceful. And I said, why are you smiling? And she said, I have been waiting for this moment since you started working for me. She said, it's time for you to go back home. There's some things you got to take care of back there, but that's where you're supposed to be. And I've known that for the last 3 years that you've worked with me. But as long as you were willing to sit over there in your corner and do the work that you were doing over there, I was going to allow you to because nobody else can toss that hat over the wall but you. And she started crying. She said, I'm so proud of you because you're going back to the place where you're supposed to be. And I started crying because it was yet validation and confirmation within less than 12 hours that I was supposed to move to Georgia. Lo and behold, I moved to Georgia, did not have a job until a week before when my job there was like, hey, would you like to work from home? Okay, great. Get here, I'm working from home. I'm like, Lord, okay, I got enough money to last till January. January. How you gonna pay these bills? And then January comes and I have 2 jobs. Oh, okay, great. I'm making bills. I'm working. Now, oh, it's March. Now you're the director. What? So it was like everything fell in line. Ever since I stepped out on that faith, I have not missed one bill, one payment, never been hungry one day, was able to do countless things, was able to start this podcast, was able to sow into my ministry with Charmaine's Confessions, the list goes on and on and on and on about the things that I've been able to do since I have left that place. And there's still areas of my life where I'm still waiting for him to show up with the vision that he has given me. And it's not easy. It's very frustrating at times to see, okay, Lord, I see you in all these other areas, but the main area that you told me, I see nothing. And sometimes he keeps us blind while he works in silence. My brother told me today. Sometimes he will keep you in the eye of the storm. And if you think about the eye of a tornado, it is calm. There is nothing happening in that eye. But you can see everything around you literally shifting and going chaotic, or you don't see it moving at all. It's like a wall. But he said the moment you step out of that eye, so stay in the eye of the storm, allow God to move everything around you until he puts it and sets it down in its proper place. And I know sometimes we want to put our hands in it and take control, but I would highly advise against that because as he told me, you could get killed with a pack of socks in a tornado. That's what he said. It's physics, but I'm just saying. So something as fluffy as cotton could kill you in a storm. So stay in that eye. But I wanted to read something for you from um not a fan from Kyle Idleman, and it was talking about he was talking about a quit claim deed, and he likens it our relationship to God as a quit claim deed. And so he says there is a legal document called a quit claim deed for most of y'all who don't know it. It's used when a person is signing over all rights to property or a possession that they once had a share in. When they sign a quit claim deed, they are giving up whatever the claim they once had. They are surrendering all their rights. When Jesus invites us to follow, there's not a lot of paperwork involved, but he's looking for some kind of quit claim deed. When you decide to follow him, you're signing over your house, your car, your bank accounts, your career, your marriage, your children, your future, and anything else that you once laid claim to. You have no more rights, and nothing can be withheld. You deny yourself and sign a quit claim deed on your life. And that's pretty much what it is. You're saying, Lord, I give you complete control, complete access to my marriage, to my finances. I give you complete access to my career, to my ministry, to my children, to my future. I give you complete control over my life. And a lot of times, I know for myself, I was fine with God taking control in my career, or at least so I thought. As long as I was successful, he could have all the control that he wanted. I could be okay with him taking control over in my school career as long as I was passing the classes. He could have all the control that he wanted. I was fine with him having control and access in my family as long as I wasn't being tormented or talked about. He could have all the control he wanted. I was fine with him having control in my relationship as long as me and my boo was getting along, or better yet, my boo was doing everything that I wanted him to do, not what he was supposed to do, but what I wanted him to do. God, you can have all the control that you wanted, but here's the thing. When things aren't looking good, better yet, who's to say that they're not looking good? When things aren't looking the way you want them to, are you willing to say, Lord, not my will, but yours? And I'm be honest, that is the hardest thing to say. That is the hardest prayer to pray, especially when you realize, for those of us who really know that that is not a cliche on a bumper sticker, that is not just some PowerPoint on a projection screen inside the church, but we actually know, like, Lord, I really get what I'm asking you to do, and I don't know how it's going to look. I'm actually nervous about what you're about to do because I know you're very illogical. You are so illogical. So illogical, in fact, that you asked them to pour water on wood so you could light a fire. That makes no sense. And so now I know that the moment I say this thing, yes, you're going to give me exactly what I need and oftentimes even what I want, but the access and the road to getting there, Lord, is going to be crazy, and I don't know if I'm up for that. It's a little tiring, but it's well worth it. So stay encouraged. For those of you that are on that road, just be honest. Let him know you're tired. He knows. He already knows. Not talking to him does not work because he knows. And it's just going to aggravate you. Just be honest. And for those of you that are not there yet, you will get there. Don't be envious of it. Don't force it. It will come. This is not a test or a journey for the light of heart or the faint of heart. But he is with you every step of the way, even in the moments that you do not see him. And so we are, as always, praying for you. You're in our thoughts. Tanisha has something that she wants to read as well, so I'm going to pass it over to her.
Not necessarily something I want to read. I found the book. Again, Good old Google. The name of the book is Life Interrupted, navigating um navigating the unexpected, and it's actually by Priscilla Shiver, and I think I'm pronouncing her last name right. Shriver, ain't it? Okay. Okay. Shire. I apologize. Priscilla Shire. And I would suggest reading this book during the moments where you feel tired, discouraged, because she basically talks about her life's journey, how she wanted to be a singer. That was her dream all her life, to be a singer. And one thing after another happened, and that didn't happen. So then she figured, I'll go into radio and television. At least that's a stage. And she says in her book that literally every television station she went to work for, the minute she would get on a show, the ratings would drop. So it was like, I don't know what you want me to do. What am I supposed to be doing? And she basically says that during those moments you have to decide whether you're going to conquer that situation, welcome that interruption, as she calls it, by God, or be a Jonah. And those of us who know, or those who don't, I'll say Jonah, the book of Bible. Most of us have heard the story of Jonah and the whale. Jonah is basically given a assignment by God that he does not want to do. So much so that he runs away and figures, I'll just leave. If I leave and go off to this other city, then you won't send me where you're trying to send me to say what it is you want me to say. And during his course of running, he gets swallowed whole by a whale. The reason why is because, and again, this ties into getting you some good people around you who will pray for you while you're going through this situation and are also willing to hold you accountable when you're going through this situation. Because the ship that Jonah was on, because he was in disobedience to God, he brought a storm upon this ship. So much so to the point where the people knew, okay, we don't believe in this God we keep hearing about, but these storms and this weather, something's going on. Which one of you on this boat knows about it? So Jonah finally fessed up and said, yeah, it's me. I'm running from God because he wants me to do something and I don't want to do it. And they were like, yeah, you need to fix that. So, playing a victim's role, Jonah says, I'll just throw myself off the boat so that I can die. He wasn't trying to do anything necessary to help them. This was him doing what we always do, copping an attitude and saying, fine, I'll just do this. Some extreme thing. And God said, yeah, okay, cool. You want to try to kill yourself? Not today. Go ahead, throw yourself off this boat. So he jumped off the boat and a whale ate him. Now, Jonah did not die. During his time in the belly of the whale, he realized that at the end of the day, it is about God's will and not his, because God wouldn't even let him die. He had something he wanted him to do, and it ended up being the very thing that pushed Jonah to the next level that he needed to go to. So it's an amazing book. She has plenty of encounters or interruptions, as she calls them, during her life's journey. If you know her now, you've seen her in movies. You may have seen her speak at a church or a conference, and that was not the vision that she had for herself. When she was never able to get those radio and TV jobs, she decided, okay, well, God, I can't remember the next thing she tried to do, and that didn't work. And then when she got married and her husband got into ministry, they thought, okay, well, we just gonna be pastor and first lady. And God was like, no, that's not what I want you to do. Oh, Lord, I'm dropping stuff. But it's just really something, it's very lighthearted. She has good lighthearted moments, but it's good to have another person's perspective when it comes to being a follower in those situations where this is not what I wanted to do, or this is what I wanted to do and now you're telling me no. That's another aspect of it too. So like Kristal said, you have to stay encouraged. The best way to do that is, like we always say, honesty with yourself, with God, letting him know how you feel. That's the best person to talk to. And if you aren't there yet, I'm going to say not only stay encouraged, but stay in prayer about it. And be honest to the point, even when you're saying, God, I don't want to do this. You already know why I don't want to do this. I'm going to do it anyway. Help me, my mind, to turn to you as I'm doing it. They say the whole thing about doing something. You can do something afraid instead of not doing it and letting fear take over. There's a big difference between being afraid and being fearful, in which we all know fear is not of God. So you can be scared, you can be afraid, but you can do it anyway. So definitely stay in prayer. As always, we are praying for you, whatever battle it is, that God will give you the peace that you need to see it through, the courage to continue to run your race or your marathon, because that's really what it is. And most definitely it's not a sprint. This is a marathon. So we pray that God give you the courage to continue to run on, even if you got to come on down to a slight jog. Keep going. Stay encouraged. And we love you. And we will see you guys, or will not see you. We will talk to you next time. Again, you can reach us. Gmail. I think we've set up an account. We will set up the Gmail account. shelaughs@gmail.com. We will be having a Facebook page as well. So yeah, we will follow the She Laughs Facebook page. You guys, please send us any questions you have, even if it's just you want us to pray for you. We will do that. You can keep it anonymous if you wish. That's totally fine. We understand. Everybody's not ready to be vulnerable, and that's fine. But still stay encouraged. We love you, and be blessed. See y'all later.